Okay, welcome back to the Caribou Media Outdoors podcast. With me this afternoon is John Stallone from HOWL for Wildlife. Welcome.
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Good. Yeah, thanks for coming on. I've heard you on a few podcasts before, and I became a member of HOWL a couple years ago, I believe.
Nice.
And we'll get into all that and what that's all about, and the reason why everybody listening to this should also become members of HOWL. But if you want to just go back in time a little bit and let us know how you got into hunting and who got you into that and what that looked like.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, I've been hunting basically since I'm 5 years old, maybe even before that, technically, I guess, my first real memory is from when I was about 5 years old. My dad took me deer hunting. My uncles, and my father were, I wouldn't say they were avid hunters. They definitely went every year. And that's kind of where I got started. And then somewhere in my early teens, right before I moved out to Arizona, I started like bow hunting a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because of a cousin of mine. And it was mainly because he was like, "Oh, look at this cool compound bow that I got," that one of his friends kind of turned him on to. But my dad had bought me like recurve bows and long bows, and I was shooting bows from, again, as a real young kid. I don't even know what age, probably 7 or so. And then, just kind of bloomed from there. I moved to Arizona in 91. I was 16. And that's when I started like Western game hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a little bit more serious about it. And then for a while I was chasing two-legged deer and,
Mm-hmm.
I was still that like once a year, twice a year type of guy. And then it was in my early 20s when I was like, oh, I love hunting. I want to do this all the time. But, my dad would, every morning we would go out with the BB gun or,
Mm-hmm.
go find squirrels. And I did a lot of, hunting and hunting paralleling type stuff all as a kid. And it's crazy. It sounds crazy because I grew up in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least till I was 16 anyway. I don't know how much growing up you do until you're 16, but as a kid, I lived in New York and I lived in Long Island, but it was a lot different place that time. Like Long Island was still very, I don't know, rural, I guess,
Okay.
sort of. It wasn't, I mean, even though it was the burbs, it wasn't quite so, we used to go down to the woods. Like I had woods across the street from my house, actually. We would go, like I said, with the BB gun. I would go on adventures with my friends and stuff. We'd go in the swamps. We had swamps by us, and because Long Island's really low, and built forts, did all that kind of cool stuff, So it all kind of went hand in hand. I was always drawn to the wild, I guess, in some way, shape, or form.
Okay. And what was it about the bow that kind of locked you in?
Well, I don't know. I've heard people talk about it as being like this, mystical thing, the mystical flight of the arrow or whatever.
Yeah.
Just something about it. I know there was a time, and I didn't make the realization where I was like, yeah, I don't really love hunting with a gun,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it never felt fair. Okay,
Sure.
I'm probably sure I'm going to alienate some people right now, but let me come around full circle. I'll explain myself. It didn't feel fair at the time, and so I started hunting a lot with the bow, and then by like 2001, I got on Matthew's pro staff, and that's about time I started getting paid in the hunting industry, I guess, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
And I started writing articles, and wrote a couple of books, The Secrets of Hunting Western Game, and I also did a lot of whitetail hunting, and I would travel for whitetail hunting. I would go to the Midwest. I would go pretty much anywhere, honestly, back east and all over the Eastern Seaboard and little bit throughout the South and so on and so forth. So I did a lot of whitetail hunting, but I also did a lot of Western hunting, a lot of elk hunting, a lot of antelope and mule deer and so on and so forth. So it kind of, I hunted whatever I could. I'm still that way. I'm not, I don't specialize, I don't think, in anything. There's not one thing that I guess if you held my hand to the fire, I could probably tell you what I would hunt the most, but I like to hunt whatever's in season, that's my my stick, I guess, but
longer seasons with the bow.
Sure. Yes, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
coming back to the rifle thing. So like I said, I didn't feel like it was fair. Then I kind of changed my mentality of the way I hunted with the rifle. So now, like when I hunt with the rifle, it's either super close distances or super long distances. So the challenge becomes either I'm going to use my woodsmanship or I'm going to use my marksmanship.
Right.
Because, again, it's going to sound like conceited prick or whatever, but I don't feel like shooting something at 400 yards is, to me, that's especially with today's technology and the way rifles are, and it doesn't seem like a hard thing to me. And from being a bow hunter for so long, I don't feel like it's very hard to get 400 yards from something. You know what I'm saying? So now 700 yards or 800 yards, whatever, it's a different story. Now it's about marksmanship, about reading the terrain, reading the wind, it's a little different. That's my philosophy. I'm not,
I agree with you. Like I was kind of in the same boat where the first time I went hunting was at a family member's property, and I had a rifle, and he was just like, sit in that tree stand, be quiet, don't move, wait till it gets dark, and then walk out. And I loved being out there, but I wasn't really connecting with the weapon per se. And it wasn't because I didn't like rifles. It didn't feel, like you, if I was going to do that, I'd want to be close, like really close, because I want that experience of watching them in their environment and the mannerisms and the breathing and everything. And the following year coming back with a bow just felt like, oh, okay, like this makes way more sense for me.
Right. Yeah, it does. And not everybody's that way, and it doesn't have to be. It's like that's the growth. That's the awesome part about hunting. That's like there's a flavor and a whatever for everybody. Like you can look at it as long as it's done in a legal format. Who cares? Like I don't frown upon anything. I don't, I'm even about the use of atlatl. So it doesn't matter to me as long as it's effective for what you're trying to do. I don't want animals to suffer. I don't like, mechanical, or I shouldn't say mechanical because people are going to think of broadheads all of a sudden. But I'm talking about like, you shouldn't be on like a computer and the turret style rifle shoots like a video game type. I know they were doing stuff like that in Texas at one point. Thank God it got banned, but stuff like that. I'm not, I don't. There's certain things that I consider hunting and some certain things that I don't. So, and that's definitely ones that I don't.
Right. So was there a defining moment that made you think, oh, okay, like this is going to be a forever thing for me?
I don't know. I'm kind of like that kind of person. I jump into stuff, and when I jump into it, and like I'm like a sink or swim type person. If I start swimming, then I just keep swimming. If I sink, then I may not come back to it. Yeah, I don't know. I can't put my finger on. There was one particular thing. All I knew is that at one point I realized that, I was better than average at this thing than most people, and people would come to me and ask me for advice about things, talk to people, and they'll be like, oh, I haven't shot a deer in 5 years. And you're like, oh shit, I shot 3 this year. And a lot of that I started realizing like it's about timing. It's about how much time I spent in the field versus them. You know, but at first that didn't click with me. It was like, okay, there's something about this. I'm good at it. But, you know, over time, I started realizing that a lot of the differences, how can I put this? So a guy that says, oh, I've been hunting for 20 years, but it turns out that person has been hunting 20 years, but he goes 7 to 10 days a year. Okay. So let's say 10 days just to make it even numbers. That's 200 days. So if a guy that spends 90 days a year hunting or in the woods, think about like how much more, you know, experience or whatever you're going to have and how much better you're going to be at your craft. And that's really what it comes down to. I think, you know, people say, or not people say, I think it's pretty well documented that if you spend, you know, 10,000 hours, I think, doing something, you become an expert at it. So it all comes, you know, are you going to become an expert only going 10 days a year? Probably not. You know, you might be extraordinarily good, you know, and go 10 days a year and always get something or, you know, whatever, you know, but I don't know. I've kind of like thought about it like this. So given everything that I just said, to me, somebody is really good at their craft if they can go anywhere, spend 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, whatever, not much more than that, you know, but a short amount of time, like a regular, you know, vacation time, and find success. Those to me are the people that are, you know, if you tell me like, yeah, I go and I spend 30 days and I get something every year. Well, shit, if I spent 30 days doing that, I feel like, you know, I would get something too. You know what I'm saying? So
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a couple of friends that religiously like our whitetail season here ends December 31st, and January 1st is the first day of the next year for them. It's like they're scouting, they're looking for sign, they're kind of getting the lay of the land, and people are like, what are you doing? It's January. And it's like those are always the people who who are successful and find the animals.
It's like anything else in life, you're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you spend every waking moment thinking about it. I mean, there was a time in my life that's when I had the time. Like I equate my bow skills now. If you would have found John Stallone 10 years ago, I probably thought that I can kick your butt in any archery type situation, you know, because I was that well practiced. I was the guy that went and shot every day, you know, and it builds a certain amount of confidence rather. And now if I go once a week, maybe if I'm really, really, really lucky, I go twice a week, but it's mostly like once a week. And I'm definitely not as strong as I used to be. I don't have my eyesight that I used to, so I'm nowhere near as good like back then. I mean, I didn't shoot at animals this far, but I had no problem shooting at a target at 150 yards, you know, with a bow. And now I don't think like I'm at the point where if it's at 80 yards, I start to, you know, second guess myself whether or not I'm going to make a good shot.
Yeah. I think that goes back to, like you said, it all depends on people's capability. And, you know, some people say, oh, it's not an ethical shot shooting at 80. I'm like, yeah, well, if you're practicing at 80 every day or even farther than that or 100, then maybe it is for you, but not for somebody else. Right. So,
yeah, I used to have a rule like you have to be able to shoot 30% better than what you're going to shoot at in the field.
Right.
So if you're planning on hunting out to 80 yards, let's say, you need to shoot, I don't know, whatever that is, 110 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of doing quick math in my head right now, but you know, yeah, something along those lines. 120 yards, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say, I shoot out to 80 every day and then go hunt at 80, because it's just different. And then I always develop this, and I still do this today, before I go on a hunt, and I'll do this several times. I call it one shot pin checking. Or I'll take my bow, I'll take the arrow with the broadhead I'm going to shoot, and I will shoot at a 3D, and I will walk out to the distance that I feel like I'm going to set my limit at. No warm up, no practice, no nothing. Just shoot. If you make a deadly shot, then I will keep that as my max range, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a YouTube video that I did like 10 years ago on it, and just walked out the 80 yard shot, made a kill shot, and that was it. That was,
we're done, going inside.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I shot afterwards, but that's what I know.
Right.
If you have to stand in front of a bag, in my opinion, and shoot out a dot at 30 yards a few times, and then you back up to 40, then you back up to 50, so on and so forth. Even if you could back up to 100, at that point, it's not realistic. One, you're in a perfect archer's tee, you're on flat ground, you're shooting at a block target or whatever with a dot on it, you're shooting a field point, or you have to put yourself in scenarios where you're going to be faced with out in the field, and these are the things that you need to test yourself with, because you're going to be tested with those: shooting uphill, shooting downhill, shooting from a knee, shooting from a butt, those things. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm going off on a major tangent right now.
It's all good. So what's your setup looking like now?
Excuse me. Sorry about that.
That's good.
My setup right now, I have two bows set up. Both Matthews. I have a Matthews lift, the original lift. So it's 2 years old, I think. 70 pounds. Got a 400 and I think it's 469 total grain weight. It's not super heavy, not super light. With a 125, and I switch back and forth between, depends on what game I'm pursuing. I'll either use, I've been using the Beast Broadhead the last couple of hunts.
Yep.
Killed 2 elk with them this year, which I was pretty. Usually elk, I would use the Iron Will's single bevel, 125. That's my go-to for larger, bigger game. But I did not have time to tune my bow the way I would like. I'm kind of anal about that. If I'm shooting a fixed blade, especially, I need bear shaft tuning. I need I try to control everything that I can control, because I know there's so many things out there you cannot control when you're hunting. So it's a lot more forgiving of a setup when you're shooting a mechanical. And I did that for one hunt, and I had success. I shot a bull the first day, and didn't go very far. Great blood trail. So I was like, all right, I'll use it for this next hunt. And I didn't, because I didn't want to take the time. But normally, that single bevel, I look for the penetration. I look for the, durability and the reliability also of it. So I'll go back and forth between those two.
And what do you land on the same arrow year after year, or do you change it?
Yeah, I've been shooting now for at least 6 years, I think. The Pierce Tour 250, which is a gold tip arrow. I've been shooting gold tip now for 20 years probably. I've been on their staff also for that long, but I don't have a desire to switch because I think they're phenomenal arrows that build real well, great tolerances. Tim is my handler over there. So, and Tim, if anybody knows who Tim Gillingham is, the guy's just like a wealth of knowledge. So if you got questions about anything, I call him up and he helps me through, work through issues, or if I have them talk things out and figure it out. But that's my go-to arrow. I was shooting the same arrow in a 300, and then right before that I was shooting just a Pierce Platinum, which is one step below the Tour, as far as like straightness and whatever is concerned. But honestly, I don't think that any of us could shoot the difference between 0.03 and 0.01. Yeah. So, you have to be really, really, really good. The only reason why I do it, I think, is, again, I just try to minimize every single little thing that I can control. Mm-hmm. Like, I've spent a lot of time just getting every arrow within, a grain or two of each other, stupid stuff like that. There's a lot of things that are diminishing returns. So if you don't have the time, it's not worth spending. So when I had the time, I did a lot of that. Now I don't. And, I still find success. Maybe don't have the same confidence level that I had before, but I still find success. And I make up for I think when I was younger, I made up for my lack of, we'll call it woodsmanship, with my ability to shoot, and now it's the opposite.
Right. Yeah, everybody gets so caught up on the latest and greatest and newest things, and then they don't see that you should be spending more time and failing and getting experience and not worrying about shooting this year's whatever, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, it's ideal and nice if you could do both, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, it all comes down to time and what you want to put into things.
So when did you start getting into advocating for hunting, like with HOWL, and can you get into what that's all about?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I'd have to back up quite a bit. I invented online hunting TV. I have the hunting channel online, and I don't know if you know this or not, I'm also probably one of the first podcasters out there. And so I used to do like the hunting channel's tip of the week.
Okay.
And at first, like conservation things would come across my desk, and I've always been interested in conservation. It just I shouldn't say not. I've always been very interested in conservation, but the things that stood out to me a lot were how crappy hunters are to hunters. Like, and I used to see this a lot because I was in the spotlight, and you hear the way I talk. I kind of, some people think I'm a douchebag, I guess, or whatever. So I try to be real. I try to say things the way I see it and whatever, and it doesn't always resonate with everybody. But so I would see hunters. It wasn't a whole lot. Back in the day, it was a lot more anti-hunting, but every once in a while I would see hunters bashing on hunters. I would feel it myself. I would see it, hunters coming after me about how I did something, and I'm like, why do we spend so much time and so much energy on this subject? Who gives a shit if Joe down the block wants to shoot a spike? To each his own. Like, if that makes Joe happy, let Joe shoot a spike. Now, I get it from a management standpoint. I get it from trying to have a certain trophy quality or whatever. Okay, but if we don't know what Joe's situation was, is that Joe's first deer? All these little things, right? So I would see these people bitching and talking about, oh, that thing still has milk on its lips, like just dumb crap. That, hey, like, this energy that you're wasting and you're spending time talking about Joe, this is energy you could be focusing towards bettering hunting perspective in the public eye. This is something that you could direct your focus on, a conservation thing or whatever the case may be. And so like around 2016, so not, I guess, 10 years ago now, but I started to do this, like, I'll call it an initiative. I had the platform at the time. I was running on all cylinders with the podcast, and Hunting Channel was still doing very well. I still had my TV show.
Full slate.
Yeah. But and at that point, I knew a lot of people in the industry, so I was like, let's do this Hunter Up initiative, which would basically, let's get more people, more hunters to be better at each other than we are before. Now, hunting is very difficult. Like, it's kind of like a chest beating, I'll call it a sport. Okay. It's not really a sport. Although I do consider hunters as athletes. It's very like, hey, how's that guy killing a deer every year? He must be cheating. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of this, like,
I don't have that kind of success. It's got to be fake.
Exactly. If this person's having this success and I don't have the success, something's got to be happening. It's like when you see a guy, whatever, in the gym or whatever, and he's lifting heavy, he's got to be juicing or whatever. Something's along those lines. And, in certain instances, that's probably, there might be some truth to it, but I don't know. But it breeds a lot of that, is what I'm getting at. So, my whole premise behind it was like, let's start supporting each other. Let's stop getting involved in things that we don't need to get involved in. Let's stop talking about who shoots a Matthews. And I mean, I get that debate. That's a little bit more fun, a little bit more like whatever, but it's not as direct. But you see people, bashing people wearing Sitka versus bashing people wearing Kuiu and Walmart camo, and just lots of stupidity, I think, in my opinion. Like, I think it's just too much. There's a place for joking around with your buddies. There's a little bit of like, hey, let's razz this guy, whatever, but leave it at that. There's so many places where it like goes beyond that. That I think it sucks a lot of our resources, I guess. I don't know, sucks a lot of our time that we could be spending doing other things. We're the same group that'll spend 30 hours poring over maps, deciding where we want to hang our tree stand or hunt, whatever. But we're also the same group that won't take 30 seconds to go sign a petition that might better the situation, and my initial thing was trying to get that going, and it was actually quite sad, because a lot of the I don't think they were called influencers then, but a lot of the influencers that I had engaged in this whole endeavor, some of them basically came out and said, well, there's nothing in it for me. Why should I do it? I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but
Yeah,
you know,
but I get it. Yeah. Well, it's just like the
just
guys
I was like taken back, and I was like, all right. So, you know, I would put things up here and there, blog posts, whatever. You know, my blog still runs. That's probably still one of my strongest things. Um, and I'd still, you know, write an article here or there, whatever. And then I think it was 2019 or yeah, I think it was 2019. Might have been 2020. I don't remember. Charles Whitwam, who's the president of HOWL Wildlife, and still is, but also at the time was my like number one hunting buddy and one of my closest friends. He contacted me and he was like, "Hey, they're trying to get rid of bear hunting completely in California. What can we do?" And I was like, "Well, you know, we can use change.org." I said, "I know a lot of people, you know a lot of people. Let's just push it out there and see what he could do." And then Charles wrote this like, it was eye-opening because he wrote this petition, and he wrote it from the standpoint of like, not just from a hunter, but you're ruining wildlife if you support removing bear hunting. And man, it took off, and it went like wildfire. I want to say like 22,000 signatures, and $18,000 was donated. Wow. Now, when you donate to change.org, it's a for-profit organization. You're not donating anything, you're paying, and that money goes to change.org, and they use that money to promote the petition, supposedly. I'm not really sure how it works, but that's kind of how it works. Excuse me. So, man, we saw what kind of success that had, and it was like, whoa. We need to come up with something like this, a change.org specifically, because change.org is not our friend.
Right.
We need to come up with change.org for hunters. We need to come up with this type of system where we can engage on a grassroots level. And I initially started going down this road trying to have the website developed, and I failed miserably, wasted money. And COVID hit. And Charles, because of his business, had a lot more time in his hands than I did. He picked up the mantle, and he went for it. And he developed a lot of what, you know, I had a lot of input into it too, of course, but he developed what HOWL platform is today.
Okay.
And you know, we've evolved over the years. Make it sound like we've been around forever, but I think it's 4 years now, or 5 years, maybe 4. 2022, I believe. Excuse me, Jesus. Yeah, we've evolved. I want to say we do like 3 different things, like 3 main categories of things. We have our platform, which is for those people who don't even really know what HOWL is. Let's say you want to, you want to get involved. You go to the Action Center and you log onto the Action Center, and on the Action Center there is a petition, or there is we call them actions. There's an action on there, and it's they're coming for snipe hunting in Kalamazoo, whatever, and you're opposed to that. You want snipe hunting to continue, and so you go on there, you read the information, and gives you a pretty much in layman's terms, like breaks everything out as to what it is. Oh, cool! I could get behind this. Put your name and your email in there, and it sends off a email. We use proprietary software, AI stuff, that will basically send an email directly from you to the decision makers of that policy.
It's amazing. It's almost like you're the investigative reporters of hunting advocacy. Like you're not
Right.
like save the mule deer. It's like
Yeah.
save this specific mule deer on this island in this place, because if we don't, they're all going to die. Right? It's
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
amazing.
Thank you. And so that's like, I think, the crux of what we do right there. And then
Mhm.
the next thing, I would say, is we take state level, or not necessarily in the United States, because we do things out in the United States, Canada, Mexico, over in Europe, so on and so forth. But just so people can understand it, we'll take a state level issue and we make it into a national issue.
Right.
And a good example of that is like, did you hear about when they were trying to ban mountain lion hunting in Colorado?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so who's going to hear about, Proposition 127 in Colorado? Mostly people from Colorado.
That's right. Yeah.
And
yeah.
And even that. Okay, so give you an example. Wolves, which are even more charismatic and more have a tendency to span beyond the hunting community or whatever. That was proposed in 2020, and even that only had like 1 point. I don't know. I can't remember the numbers, so I'm going to say number is probably going to be wrong. Like 1.2 million voters on it, and where the mountain lion ban had almost double what that had.
Mm.
So we took that. If you heard about, Prop 127, chances are you heard about it because HOWL for Wildlife facilitated either having Dan Gates or somebody talking about that. We did all the reach out, and then we took it from a state level issue and we turned it into a national issue. We took it from state level funding to national funding.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff that we do. Then I would say the last thing, and I think is probably the most important, and I know Charles and I have been trying to kind of like find ways that are going to be the most effective, is bridging the gap between the non-hunting public and the hunting public. Not anti-hunting, but the non-hunting. So
just want to take a quick break to talk to you about a couple of things that I've been using that I think might benefit you. One is this Numa Outdoors gear. This is in their Kaza OV pattern, which is great whitetail pattern when you're up in a tree in the fall and late season. They also have a Kaza pattern which has more green in it, which is good for spring through to the fall. Numa has given me a code to give to you of Caribou Media 20, which will save you 20% at checkout. Another product here that I've been using for years now is the Bulldog targets. This is a Canadian made target. They're made in Manitoba. They have a lifetime warranty. I've used that warranty twice now on a couple of my larger targets that are outside. It's very simple, very easy. These targets are 2-finger removal every single time, which is incredible. Field point only target. Bulldog's been gracious enough to give me a 20% discount code to give to you at checkout. Use code BD20-Caribou-Media. That'll save you 20% on these awesome targets. Now back to the show.
Let me frame this out for you.
It can be swayed in one way or the other.
Yeah. There's 5% anti-hunting, 5% hunting, and 90% in the middle, basically, in the United States. And it's probably pretty close in Canada. And so the way that works is they hold all the power. That 90% in the middle holds all the power. So it's always a race to get your messaging to them faster, because they decide whether or not you get to do what you want to do, and they make wildlife decisions. That's where this like ballot box biology thing comes around. So you know, anti-hunting's been, I mean, far longer than you and I have been alive, has been propagating, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like infiltrating, I guess, mainstream media. I mean, if you think of things like Bambi, okay,
Mm-hmm.
there's very, 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 very rarely does the hunter ever get portrayed as the protagonist or the hero or
Mm-hmm.
some good guy,
Always the villain
right?
drinking
So
beer.
exactly. So there's always a picture painted of what the hunter is,
Right.
toothless hillbilly, redneck. What you think of any type of thing that may turn somebody who's in the middle off.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do. We had a incident or was it last year? Might have been 2 years ago. I don't know if it was last year. I can't remember. They're all rolling into each other. uh,
Yeah.
where unfortunately somebody who is hunting adjacent, I'm not going to call them a hunter, did something to a wolf, and you know it started catching like wildfire because it was being pushed by anti-hunting
Right.
that this is the poster child. This is what we need to protect.
Mm-hmm. Look at what they do.
Yes, exactly. Look at what they
Yeah.
do. Exactly. So, one of the things that I think and we think is huge is one is you need to like educate yourself so that you represent hunting in a obviously I'm not the most eloquent person in the whole world. I sound like I'm out of a you know, a B movie mafia film or something, But um, it so it doesn't mean you have to be like the most intellectual or educated or whatever, but educate yourself on North American model wildlife conservation, and more importantly, like if somebody's to ask you what does hunting mean to you, give it a few moments right now to think about that
Mm-hmm.
and really put that together and have some kind of like, you know, 20-second, 30-second rebuttal to that, where this is what it means to me. It's about the camaraderie. It's about the meals. It's about spending time with the family. It's about connecting with nature. It's about, the animals. And then it doesn't always have to be about, oh, I'm, you know, buying a license and my license is going to, conservation. And this is why,
Mm-hmm.
people don't resonate with that stuff. They resonate with the sorry, there's like a mosquito in here or something. Um, and so have that conversation with yourself. Think about it, because if you do get asked it, you have something at the ready. But then I was looking at it like this. In the United States, there's like 14 to 16 million hunters. I think in Canada, there's like close to 2 million hunters. That's an army, man.
Yeah.
That's an army.
Yeah.
Like, if we were out there, and I don't mean go out on a crusade, but if we talk to one person a year
Mm-hmm.
and, shared our truths, shared what hunting means to us, the human side of it, and really connected with people, the next time that person is faced with propaganda from anti-hunting, they might stop and think and say, hey, I need to look into this a little bit more. Or, oh, hey, I know Josh. He just told me, you know,
Right.
that he does this, and that, or he invited me over for a meal.
Mm-hmm.
I know that bear is excellent and it doesn't, get thrown away. Just
Yeah.
every stupid thing that you've heard out there. And if you are out there doing those things and you're making sure that you're a good steward of hunting, like every time you have an interaction, like coming out of the trailhead or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you
Take the
know,
time.
take
Yeah.
the time. Yeah. Like I have a story actually. My cousin Anthony, he, I don't remember. It wasn't that long ago. It was like 3-4 years ago. we would go hunt in this no motorized vehicle area, and when we hike out, a lot of times we'd run into, recreationalists, and I would go out of my way to like avoid people,
Mhm.
take the
Take the
hidden
long way
route.
around.
I wouldn't stay on the trail, whatever. I'd stay off trail, whatever. And my cousin Anthony was like, "Hey, why are you doing that, man?" I'm like, "I just don't feel like, explaining myself."
Mhm.
He's like, "But you're the very right person to explain yourself. You know what to say to people. You know what to talk to people." And I'm like, "Okay, you're right." So I started now going out of my way
Mhm.
to, if I run into somebody, to making sure that they have the most pleasant experience they possibly can with me, which may or may not be pleasant. I don't know, but um, you know, answer their questions. And I've found that, like, they're like, "Oh, you eat that? Oh, you do this? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and that, like, yeah, it's delicious. I make it with this." And I go, like, the conversation goes in the right direction, and I know that when I've left, I've, at the very, very least, I've given that person a reason to not side with anti-hunting just because they heard whatever,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, one person a year, we're going to change the mind of 18 million people.
Yeah, I had a couple of things like that happen. One was, I was at work and I brought in some bear sausage, from a black bear hunt that had gone on, and I walked around the office and I was offering it to people to try it, and they were like, "What? What is
See,
that?" And I'm like, "It's black bear." I'm
you
like,
eat bear?
"Is it dirty?" Remember one guy said, "Is it dirty?" I'm like, "No, it's probably the cleanest thing you're gonna eat,"
Yeah,
right? So
they got rolled around in the dirt.
I explained, a couple of things about the trip, and there was a funny story that happened where when we were hauling them out, the wagon we had them on flipped over, and I flipped out, and one of the bears landed on top of me, and it was a whole thing. So
Oh wow.
it was like relating that story, and again,
Mhm.
like you said, people will think about it if it comes up, and like, oh, they'll think about that,
Yeah.
what we just said, or there was a mountain lion photo that I posted of an influencer guy who'd gone on in this 11-day hunt and finally got one, and people were saying, "Oh, they're endangered.
No,
Why are
they're
you
not endangered.
supporting that?" And I'm like, "They're not endangered." And then I went into the whole backstory that actually there was 4 that needed to be taken out of that area.
Mm,
He was able to get 1, and then kind of explain all that, and then by the end of it, they understood, but they didn't have that
yeah.
context, right? And then I keep going back to the grizzly bear in BC and
Mm,
hearing about it, and I'm like, "Oh, that's never gonna happen. They're never gonna get rid of that." And then you get people thinking, "Well, I just hunt deer in my backyard. I'm never gonna go out there."
mhm.
Right? So they don't feel like they should support it. And it's like,
Right.
well, when you're not supporting that, there's other things that are gonna happen too.
That's
And
that
we all need to stand together, right? Like
exactly.
it's horrible.
That's one of our biggest issues as hunters is that, I'll call it complacency, or I don't know. It's like it's also it's one of the things that makes us great because we have this mentality, you do you, I'll do me, I'm not gonna influence your life, you don't influence mine. It's a great way to live. But at the same time, you have to have this recognition that the guy in BC who hunts grizzly bears is the same guy that hunts alligators in Florida.
Mhm.
We're the same. We're not the same person, but we have the same goals, and we're all in this together. I mean, I only said we're 5% of the population, right, in North America, and 5% it's significant, but it's not. The only reason why we're as significant as we are is because of the funding and the um, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess industry associated with hunting. I mean, if hunting went away right now, if I had a magic wand and I waved it and hunting went away, it would crush our economy,
Mhm.
literally flatline. So,
Yeah.
but you can't rely on that. You can't rely on the fact that uh, the reason why we exist is because of funding, because of money. Like, yes, thank God we have that, and we can rely on that. We could speak to that. We can hang our hat on it a little bit. But the end, it's normalizing and what's the word I'm looking for? I guess like getting people to understand, just getting people to understand where you're coming from. They don't have to. We don't need more hunters. If we had more, great. I'm not a huge advocate of VAR3. Like, I don't mean I'm not against it in any way, shape, or form. Matter of fact, I've advocated for it before, but I'm not out there cheerleading for it, is what I'm saying. And I think R3 is important. I think that we should have more people, more kids coming in, so on and so forth, because otherwise it's going to go away. But I also don't want to, not necessarily want to create more competition. We're already competing for a small amount of tags. We're already competing over a small amount of land in comparison. I guess, there's a lot of public land in the West, but back East, there's nothing. I don't know how it is in Canada. I would imagine there's probably quite a bit of public land to access over there, but.
Yeah. Did you find it's easier to digitally reach people and get the same effect as you would getting face to face and talking in their face, or because I know obviously
No,
I guess you can reach
I
more
don't.
people, but you don't have the
I don't think so. I think, and I don't know what the actual numbers are, but if I had to imagine it, or if I had to like at least give you an example for you to visualize it, let's say if I talk to 3 people, 2 people might take to what I'm saying, but I might have to contact 10 people digitally to get the same 2 people.
Right. Yeah.
I think when things are face to face, they're more nuanced. It's like us having this conversation on a podcast. Not that people can't turn it off. We're gonna get, I'm sure. I know this is a change, but I'm going to give you like a statistic, I guess. When in my podcast, if I talked about elk calling, let's say, I'd have 10,000 downloads. If I talked about, saving the Catalina mule deer, I might have like 3,000 downloads. Because people aren't just, they see the title and they're automatically like, yeah, it's not me.
Right.
If they listen to it, they might be drawn in and be like, oh shit, I didn't know that,
Yeah, that's what I did when I watched the video.
Right.
It's like,
exactly.
I didn't even know that existed. I don't know how you guys even find out that stuff. Like, that's gotta be just a
so
process on its own.
And there's so many things we don't know about. I wish, like, that's part of what we do is we cultivate partnerships, I guess, or relationships with boots on the ground organizations that are more in touch with each and every single thing that's going on in their state. Like, we just had something come up here in Arizona where I live, and we were kind of sitting back on the sidelines waiting to see if it's something that we really needed to get involved in, and end up dying in committee. So thank God we didn't have to. But like, so we have these relationships with people, and we don't want to be like, there's some organizations out there that will, God bless them, I guess, fundraise on everything, dog barking, whatever. Just they'll the sky is falling, the cry wolf type thing about every single thing, just because no good no good crisis goes unwasted, that kind of situation. But we're small and our resources are limited. So we're only going to get involved in things that we know that we can move the needle. Not saying that we're only going to get involved in things so that we're going to win.
Right.
You know, there's been times that we've lost, but it's mainly about, can we affect change or not? So
what's been one of the biggest ones that you've had that you've been able to overturn or get enough awareness to?
Well, I used that example earlier, that Prop 127 Colorado.
Yeah.
That was huge. That was probably the biggest thing. We actually wrote, and I say we, I don't mean just how the people that were involved in that. We wrote the playbook for ballot initiative type stuff. Like, now we know what works, what doesn't work, where to spend money, that kind of stuff. Right. You know, we had in Florida last year, we had was it Prop? I think it was Prop 2, if I remember correctly. They come and go in my brain now, but it was a right to hunt and fish, so it was a positive one, and it had gotten shot down a couple times before. Now it won, and Florida has the right to hunt fish in their constitution.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it's actually just popped up again now. We're working on one in Ohio, which is going to be a little bit tougher just because of the political climate there, you know, and it's because it's a Ohio thing. Only Ohioans can vote.
Right.
That doesn't mean, you know, me in Arizona, I can't scream at the top of my lungs from my rooftop about what needs to happen so that an Ohioan can hear me, you know. But there's a lot of stuff like that, which is great. So it's not always gloom and doom. Thank God.
No. Do you have a message for the people that want to stay silent, like we were saying before?
Well, I don't know. Every time I ask something similar to this, I feel like I'm bashing people. If you stay silent, if you stay on the sidelines with the old mentality, we're not in the 1970s and 1980s anymore. Like, I remember when I went, the first time I took Hunter's Ed, I was 9 years old. It was in New York. And I was in Hunter's Ed, I was taught to be like recluse. You know, on top of don't, you know, display your deer, or that kind of stuff. Like, on top of that, there was like you almost got to hide. I had this mentality even growing up in Long Island because we would hunt in like little lots of land that were nestled between $1 million homes. Like, it was public land, it was legal, but I didn't want to rub in, you know, Susie K's face that I just, you know, shot an 8-pointer buck in there. You know what I'm saying? So we wouldn't wear camo going to the, you know, to lunch or whatever. I don't think you should do that anyway, but, and it has nothing to do with public perception. That's a hunting tactic. Try to keep your scent as limited as possible. But anyway, so we're not in that era anymore. We're in the era of like everything is out there. You make a post on social media, you make a comment, and you may not even be on social media, but people are. So, and there's trolls on the other side looking to make you, your friends, whatever, the poster child for anti-hunting. This is why, you know, we talked about that with the wolf or whatever. This is why we need to protect. So the time for keeping to yourself, it's gone. Like, you can't. So, and I hear this all the time, and I hate saying it because of, like, I'm not trying to alienate people, but this is what I hear I hear this all the time. Like, oh, because I've told people before, you know, you need to be active, you need to be activists, you need to be involved.
Right.
And they're like, oh, that's for libtards. Like like again, I'm not trying to knock anybody down for their political whatever political avenue they take. So, but if you want this to stick around, if you want to continue to do what you love, you got to speak up. You got to get involved. Like I didn't want to do this. I didn't even vote until I don't know, maybe 2012. Like I wanted to be as hands off because I was like, oh, I don't know enough about this. I don't want to, and I came up with my own justifications, my own excuses. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I love hunting so much and I know what it's done for me in my life, what it's provided me and my family. I feel like I got to give back to it. So that's why I do it. But if you love it that much and you want to keep on doing it and you don't want somebody dictating how you do it, you need to be, and I don't mean, argue with people. That's not what I'm trying to get at here, man. What I'm saying is be a part of what's going on by getting involved in HOWL. I mean, at the very least, sign up for notifications, get the free membership, whatever. Like, start educating yourself. Take 10 minutes out of the week and start listening to people talk about what's going on. And, I don't know. I have a hard time saying this because I always feel like I'm bashing on people, but it's not going to continue to be here if you don't. There's an old like proverb or whatever that they came for this, I didn't stand up for it because I didn't do that. Then they came for this, and I didn't stand up for that because I didn't do that. And then they came for what I love, and there was nobody left to stand up for me. Like that's the real shortened version of it. Yeah. Like, so there's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of reality to that, and without shaming you into it, become a member at the very least. And
yeah, it's nothing. It's what, $30 to join.
Yeah, I mean, even to just get involved in actions, it's like if I go take an action, I literally, if I don't want to read what it says there, and I just wanted to put my name and my number, it would literally take me, I don't know, 15 seconds. Like, we're talking about 2 minutes out of your life if you did the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
but that is a huge thing, though. Like, if it's not what you love today, it will be tomorrow, or it will be months or years down the road. It's only a matter of time. Like, we're, and you look at any of these, like, I keep going back to the BC one. Nobody thought it was going to go because they didn't even go off of science. They just,
it just happened. It literally just happened. And it just happened. Colorado just voted 6-4 for a on a fur ban thing, and they pretty much completely ignored all the scientific data that was given to them. They ignored the department's expert testimony that was against losing this. The funniest thing is they often cite social science, which is in my opinion not a very accurate thing, but we do a lot of social science ourselves now, and the social science said let's keep it. So it was just agenda driven. Excuse me. They just wanted to do what they wanted to do. Yeah. Oh my God, I get the hiccups. Sorry.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just, it's wild. So if there's people out here that think, oh, I just hunt this animal and I'm fine,
Yeah.
you might not be. They might
Yeah.
be coming for that
You
too at
know,
some point.
the
And like you
real
said,
the
there won't be
reality
enough
of it
people
is, and I know they saw this not too long ago, like Caribou in Canada.
Mhm.
But the reality of it is like, yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, for your deer hunter, people are mostly accepting about that, and they're like, oh, I'm a deer hunter, and it's not going to really go away. But I'll tell you what, man, they may not come directly for deer hunting, but if they come for predator hunting, right? And let's say you cannot hunt bears and lions and wolves anymore or whatever,
Mhm.
and they get out of hand, they're going to remove you by proxy. So you got to understand something. Hunting is a tool used to regulate populations, prey populations mostly, right?
Mhm.
And the prey population exists. Let's say these are arbitrary numbers. They give 1,000 tags a year for deer hunting, and that is the carrying capacity. That is, not the carrying capacity. That is the number that we need to stay at. We need to remove 1,000 or 700 deer a year. Okay. Now, if the population of wolves and grizzly bears and black bears and mountain lions gets up high enough, now that 700 deer that need to be removed might only need to be 200 deer.
Yeah.
So now there's no longer 1,000 tags. There's 300 tags.
Mhm. And it's a lottery
Based
now.
exactly. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we're seeing it right here, right now in Arizona because the deer herd is hurting. They've reduced a bunch of deer tags and stuff like that.
Mhm.
A lot of it was because of drought and maybe a little bit of mismanagement. But that's the kind of stuff that happens. And then people start bitching and complaining about that, like, oh, why is the Fish and Game trying to take away? Well, there's a reason for it.
Mhm.
There's a scientific reason for it. It's all based on numbers in, numbers out. And if the numbers in don't match the numbers out, they're not going to keep
No.
doing it. If the numbers getting taken off the landscape are a lot because, you know, we're not allowed to manage wolves anymore, or we're not allowed to manage mountain lions anymore, or bear, or whatever. That's the reason. So,
Yeah. 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 There was some talk here even about, we could get 2 bear tags a year, and now they're saying they might be they're toying with the idea of maybe making it a lottery now, and I was like, "Here we go. This is it. This is
yeah,
exactly what we're talking about."
yeah, yeah. And listen, and if there's a real scientific reason behind it, you got to support it.
Of course. Yeah.
There's a lot of places that have a legitimate reason to reduce numbers or increase numbers, and you got to support it one way or the other.
Mhm.
But if it's agenda driven, like it's obvious that then those are the times that, you come find Alpha Wildlife and see if we can do something about
Yeah.
it. Yes.
I'll keep you in the know.
Get the
Um,
muscle going.
yeah. Thanks for, coming on here today. I wanna be respectful of your time. Can you give us a hunting story just to kinda end things off here?
um, yeah. So this past year, I'll give you my second elk story was, and if you guys want, the video's up on YouTube. You can watch it and visualize after what I've told you. So basically, I drew this tag 2 years in a row. It's a 5-day hunt, archery. It has to be a 6-point bull or better.
Okay.
So it's very difficult, and it's in December. So it's all spot and stalk. You're not chasing bugles, and it's hard to find. It's hard to find a legal bull, to be honest with you. And the shitty part about it is actually, like last year, I had like a 340 bull, which is a stellar bull, but he was a 5x5, and I couldn't shoot him
Mm,
because it was a 5x5. And
right.
the bull that I shot this year I don't know, maybe 270. Like, but he's a 6x5.
Right.
Because he was a 6, I can shoot him. So I don't. I'm not 100% on the point restriction thing, but um, anyway, the I drew it again. A buddy of mine that lives there, Troy, who's a guy. He works for um, Ty Gore, another friend of mine, and I went hunting with him. So it was nice because only being 5 days, he knew where elk were at. So I had that in my corner for sure. We I don't know. We went. I don't know how many miles, probably between 10 and 12 miles a day, just looking, trying to find elk. And this unit's really like, it's got a lot of private land that you can't access.
Mm.
And one day, the day before I killed my bull, there was, I found, I don't know, maybe 16 bulls together, and probably 3 of them would have been legal, maybe more. And they were, as the crow flies, at like 2.5 miles away, which was a ways already. But to get to them, there was like a 300-yard piece of private that I couldn't cross. We had to go all the way around.
Great.
Hike all the way around it to get to where the elk were. And I finally got over there and I couldn't find the elk again. All I could find was cows and a couple of small raghorns. But like, so that's what we were up against. It was crazy. Just constantly every day, just going, grinding. And second to last day, and I make it sound like it was, a week long. It was only a 5-day hunt. So, day 4, we, that afternoon, we go out to this one spot that I had went to the year before. And Troy picks up a bull. He's like, I honestly don't know how the hell he could tell he had 6 points. I mean, I could see the bull, but the sun was in our eyes. He's like, I got a 6 point. And he's coming down the hill, and he's coming down to the flats below us. And at that point, once I knew he hit the flats, it was going to be kind of like a guessing game. But we knew that there was water about a mile to our right, and that there was like these finger strips of meadow that kind of led to where that water was. And I was just like, well, Mike Troy, stay back here, keep eyes on him as long as you can. And then eventually he got down too low and he couldn't see him anymore. But, and me and my cameraman went in, and I basically just picked where I deduced he would walk. I figured he would come out to this meadow and feed, and he would make his way to the water. And I chose right. I got lucky. Nice. And he did bugle once coming down the hill, and it usually doesn't happen that time of year, but he bugled, and I didn't hear it, but Troy heard it, and he's like, I heard it. And he kind of like gave me a direction. I was using a radio at the time. He gave me like a direction of where he was again, but it was all about just kind of reading the terrain and guessing,
Mm-hmm.
And I guessed, and we got set up underneath this tree, and I could see some, like, I'll call it brown, I knew there were elk, but I could see a couple of elk like filtering through the trees like 300 yards away. And man, I was like, well, this is probably the best spot we can get to. And sure as heck, he pops out at the very far end of this meadow, like 200 and something yards away. He just starts walking, and I just started willing him. I'm like, please come within range, please come within range. And then he kept walking, feeding. Felt like it took forever. And he got to a point where he was at 83 yards, which kind of a poke, to be honest with you. But I felt like I was well practiced at the time, and I was like, it's now or never. I don't think I'm going to get another opportunity, and I don't want to eat another tag. I ate the tag the year before, even though I had plenty of opportunity to shoot like 5 or 6 bulls that were not legal, you know. He stepped out, or excuse me, he stepped forward and kind of gave me this look, and I hit him. And at the time I looked at the video, I was like, oh my God, I hit him super high and I hit him far back. I thought it was just like a weird thing. So we looked at the video and I was like, let's back out of here. I don't even want to try.
Mm-hmm.
We backed out and we went back to the house. We pulled the video up on a laptop to see a bigger screen to see if I came up with every crazy scenario you could possibly think of. I was convinced that I didn't kill this bull. I even posted it on Instagram to ask, what the keyboard,
What do you think?
what the keyboard crew would tell me. And yeah, everybody was like, oh, you're not going to find. Then I had a few people that were like in a no, and they were like, that's a dead bull. And so the next morning, my cameraman had to leave. My next morning, me and Troy went out and we got to the meadow, like right at first light, and I saw a bunch of crows. And I was like, oh, I think there's something dead over there. And we walked up and he was dead. He only went like 60 yards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. He must have got hit. I hit him good. I don't think he fell over there, but I think he like went and bedded down and just eventually passed it. And so the rest was easy. It was, fairly easy pack out too. It was only like a mile.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That was with the beast.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, they fly beautifully.
Yeah, it's a good broadhead. I'm a little worried about them popping open when they're not supposed to, like get your fingers or something like that. But other than that,
they come with band-aids for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Sharp. Awesome. That's great. Thank you. I appreciate your time coming on here and talking about everything. And if for those of you who are listening that are not members, you better get over there and sign up and help fight for the good fight, because you know that things are gonna turn around, and eventually the thing that you love the most could be having a target on its back. So
yep,
we need to stand together. Like you said, we are an army when you look at the numbers, and we're definitely not behaving that way. And the ones that are going against us are way more prepared than we are. So we need to change our ways.
100%. I'll leave you with this. Going back to the army, we've been able to move mountains with thousands of people, win a bunch of different stuff over the last few years. If we had 10%, let's say we had, 2 million people, 2 million members, and 2 million people were getting engaged in every single thing, we would win all the time. Now, if we had 14 million or 10 million, we would never lose a single hunting thing that could be backed by science ever again.
There you go.
So it's really not that hard, but we make it super hard.
That's right. Makes sense to me. Awesome. All right. So howlforwildlife.org. Make sure you get over there, get yourself situated, and start helping with the right fight. Because even with this Catalina mule deer, I didn't even know anything about it until I went to the website and watched the video. I was like, oh my God, that's horrible.
That was Charles' baby.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for like 2 years.
2,000 of them, they're threatening to shoot them from a helicopter.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's stupid.
Wild. All right. Thanks again. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.